more interested in the research side because one of the reasons why these research are being at least emerged in the last decade or so is because it's socially more acceptable smoking weed or doing DMT, and partially this has progressed to the legalization of marijuana and a lot of other drugs as well, right?
DMT more acceptable now? Damn.
DMT, well, first of all, it depends on where you are. DMT is completely acceptable to a lot of the Amazonian tribes or the southern America where there's just wide usage. It's completely normal usage.
Damn, I gotta try that sometime.
Anyway,
Anyway.
back to the legalization of
the Red
weed.
Indians. No, I'm just saying this is precisely one of the reasons why people were supporting the legalization of drug use, soft drugs. We're not talking about heroin or cocaine and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And because we can get a better understanding of what it does to your body. And I think more and more people realize smoking weed, it's not really that much more harmful versus drinking alcohol. A lot of people would argue drinking alcohol is worse than smoking pot.
So much worse, yeah.
You think about the suicide rates,
Domestic abuse,
car
Drunk
accidents.
driving.
Yeah, drunk driving. These are all associated to
alcohol.
But you never heard. Well, maybe I don't think
haven't heard any stoners that beat their wives. Let's put it that way. Not a lot. Maybe there are. I don't know.
They're too relaxed.
Yeah, they're too relaxed.
They're too relaxed.
Just relax.
It's more about it's the whole upper and downer thing, right?
Yeah,
If you smoke weed, which is a suppressant.
Yeah, it's a suppressant, but
you just get lazy in general. You wouldn't want to drive. I know people that would drive after they smoke. Not a very safe thing, but I know someone do that. But then you wouldn't do too reckless stuff in general when it's a suppressant.
Might even drive slower when you
with alcohol.
you get honked.
Alcohol can be can be a suppressor, but
stimulant.
Can also be a stimulant for certain people.
I was doing my written driving test 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was a little bit drunk actually when I did that test.
If it's written, then it's okay.
No,
You're
but
not driving.
But one of the reasons why you shouldn't drink before you drive is because it actually gives you this false sense of confidence.
That's actually true. That's very true. Yes.
And so it's very discouraged.
So I've heard this from someone. It might have been Jordan Peterson or something like that. That says when you're drunk versus when you're high, the difference is when you're drunk, you don't take the risks seriously, but when you're high, you're well aware of the risks, but you just don't care. Right. As in, you know what's going to happen.
I think the results probably going to be the same if you don't care about the risk, but still go for it. It's a misperception of the risk level, right?
Or did I confuse them both? But it's something to do with your evaluation of risk, the alcohol basically impairs your risk, and you basically think it's okay.
Yeah, impairs your cognitive judgment, ability to think rationally. And I think that's all fine.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the main difference between alcohol versus weed is the externalities, as in how does it affect the people around you. Yeah. Smoking pot, I would argue it's pretty harmless. You sit at home, watch a movie, have a lot of munchies.
Yeah, I mean, it's harmless if you're not working. Right?
It's harmless if you're not working. But if you think about, again, just repeating what we've just said, some of the examples like domestic abuse and drunk driving, these are far more harmful than weed. I think slowly people are realizing that, and that's why there are 17 states in the U.S. at the moment where weed is legal.
Wow,
and I think
17. Wow.
17 states.
Nuts.
Started with for the first state being Colorado, and later on, I think 2-3 years ago, Washington D.C.
Wow,
legalized pot, and obviously either California in 2018, and most recently, I think New York did as well.
And Canada is completely legalized.
It's completely legalized. By the way, when I talk about legalize, I'm talking about legalizing recreational use of marijuana rather than medical use.
Are you talking about also? What about decriminalization? Do you know about that?
Decriminalization. That's another reason for why we should regulate marijuana a little bit more.
Right.
Because statistically speaking, right, Black or African Americans are 4 times more likely to be arrested because of drug possession. And so there's kind of like a social justice argument going on of, we should really. I think Jordan Peterson had this
liberal over here.
This is a great quote. Shut up.
Liberal over here.
Jordan Peterson had this great quote. So many people are breaking the law. Does that mean it means the law shouldn't be there. Right? it's
that sounds like a terrible argument.
Kind of a problematic
yeah,
argument.
that sounds like a terrible argument.
But it's a great quote. I thought it's quite funny.
Sure.
And social justice is another big reason why. But even, I guess, from a non-liberal sense, right? A non-liberal argument would be from a very financial, economic point of view.
Right.
It's
Here we
tax
go.
money, man. think about marijuana. The whole cannabis industry. It's around a $20 billion industry as of 2020.
Whoa.
And Uncle Sam takes around what 25, 30%.
Say again? And what takes?
Uncle Sam.
Uncle
The IRS.
Uncle Sam. Right.
The IRS
Takes how
around-
many? 30%?
Around 25%,
Okay.
Corporate tax rate, right? And that's insane amount of money. That's what 500K already.
That's why they're
500 million.
That's why they're giving out these stimmies all day, every day.
Sorry, 0.5. Sorry. What am I calculating? Anyway, so tax money. And one of the main problems that these cannabis companies, one example is a company called Canopy Growth, which is a U.S. company listed in Canada.
Right.
The reason why they have to be listed in Canada is because they have a lot of trouble banking in the U.S. Although in a lot of states, legislatively, marijuana is legalized for recreational use. But at the same time, a lot of banks or financial institutions think it's too risky, so they don't agree to open a bank account for these companies. And what happens is that because you don't have a track record with a bank, it's very hard for you to get loans to grow your business.
Grow credit.
So
and stuff
credit
like that.
line are very inaccessible for these cannabis
In US.
companies
Wow.
in the U.S. And that's why quite a few companies
That's
have
where
to go to.
Bitcoin comes in.
Here's where Bitcoin comes in as well. How transactions are done through Bitcoin because banks refuse to bank them.
That's so interesting. Back in the days, like Bitcoin was basically used to buy weed when I didn't do it, but like when I had friends who was like, oh, I used to pay like 200 Bitcoin, well, way more than that, like hundreds of Bitcoins,
Yeah,
thousands of
that is
Bitcoins
back
for a bag
in
of weed.
my weed days
Yeah.
too. Crypto was used
Right.
to.
And he's like, if he was saying, if I could find that one wallet, man, I'd quit my job tomorrow, But like, yeah. Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying, and so it's very hard for these cannabis companies to grow organically.
Yeah.
In the U.S. So canopy
Organically.
organically,
Yeah. I like that pun.
And yeah, so banking is a major problem for a lot of these cannabis companies. But I guess back to that social justice argument, right?
Yeah.
The reason why it's a lot of people favor cannabis being regulated is because we can use those tax money to fund some of the poor districts' education,
Interesting, yeah.
and we could teach them about drug use and all that stuff,
Interesting.
so they don't abuse it. Obviously, I think it should still be regulated in some shape or form.
Yep.
But these are some of the arguments on the consumption side, right?
Right.
That's just half of the story.
It
And
is.
the other half of the story is on the distribution, supply chain, or dispenser business side of things,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You've heard about the South
drug
American
lords.
cartels.
Yeah.
And it's a big problem because a lot of the,
Humongous.
especially in Colombia, Peru.
I've seen Narcos. Yeah.
You've seen Narcos.
I've seen Narcos.
Yeah, they smuggle cocaine mainly
Yeah,
through
yeah.
Mexico, borders of Mexico. More recently, because of the crackdown, they smuggle through Guatemala.
Oh wow. Interesting.
Put them as little baggies and
Yeah, put them in little baggies.
stick them up there.
It's not really baggies for them. It's more like plain loads.
Yeah,
And then they
plain
just-
loads.
You try to
of it.
smuggle like small amount, and
okay.
you'll put them in a little bag and then put it up someone's.
Or they just
Someone's
swallow
ass.
it, or they just eat it, and then they poop it out.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the stomach lining dissolves that layer, and then that goes into the bloodstream, and they OD. But
True.
Yeah, but
So,
the drug lords
what's
really
up with
had a
the
lot
drug
of
lords?
power
Mm-hmm.
in South America, and that's precisely because partially government over there is corrupt,
Mm-hmm.
and they really even subsidize to a certain extent these kind
Right.
of criminal activities, and they get some sort of commission out of it, right?
Mhm.
You've seen
Yeah.
Narcos again.
Yes,
you know
I have.
better than
I
me.
have.
Basically texting them.
Basically taxing them, but
Yeah.
the tax money goes into your own pocket rather than to the people.
Yes,
Right.
of course.
Of course.
Because
And-
they haven't declared it to the people, so the money doesn't exist.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you don't get some in your pocket, what's the point of being a dictator?
That is true. And in order to prevent that from happening in, say, the U.S., they're starting to think about legalizing marijuana. One of the policy suggested was to label marijuana as kind of a medical product and sell them at your local CVS stores.
Right.
Or in
Right.
HK Watson's or
It's like a
in the
health
UK.
product.
It's kind of a health product. You got to
like paracetamol.
It's like paracetamol. Paracetamol.
I have depression. I want some weed. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the debate here is whether it should be over the counter or do you need proper prescription.
Right. That's a
that
good.
kind of-
That's a good question. So,
Cool.
is it going to be like paracetamol or is it going to be like Addies, for example, something like that?
I would imagine it's better. I would imagine. Well,
What's
because-
your opinion of it first? Because that's the argument.
Well,
but, like,
what a free market, man.
so you think it should be
What do you
over
want?
the counter?
I think it's so
but free
easily
argument is not a
accessed.
good. It's not a good argument because there are literally drugs that are prescribed, and should those be over the counter too? Clearly, no.
Well,
right?
I do think. Well, I do think there's a recreational use argument
Mm-hmm.
to it, right? When we clearly label this as a pharmaceutical product, then I don't think it should
Right.
be over the counter. But you need to compare marijuana with something.
Yeah, apples and
like
apples, like
alcohol,
alcohol,
or tobacco,
cigarettes,
which you don't
yeah,
need a prescription to get it from a local
Yeah.
convenience store, right?
and those things are like known facts that'll hurt you, that'll harm
Yeah.
your health, and they're not good for you. People still take them, and it's legal, and people can buy them.
But I think an interesting fact to note here is that looking at those 17 states who have legalized weed, and
Right.
also Canada, people have done some sort of time series analysis on
Mm-hmm.
whether there's any significant change in terms of weed consumption before and right after legalization. There's none. And
Not
Because
surprising.
If you smoke, then
If
legal
you-
or not, you smoke.
so what's the conclusion here? The conclusion here means if you are a smoker already, you're not going to be affected by whether it's legal or not. It's
If you
already
don't
very
smoke.
easily accessible. Doesn't matter it's legal or not. So whether we want to legalize marijuana or this, argument for war on drugs is
Yes.
that how can we ensure the quality of the product you're consuming
Absolutely.
is of high standard?
Absolutely.
Because
Amen, brother.
Because Justin earlier said, the weed you buy here in HK, you have a lot of impurities and
Horse
weird
trap. Yeah,
substances,
it's horse
heavy
trap.
metal.
Absolutely
it's illegal here, but doesn't seem to be stopping anyone.
Yep, and you get all these impurities and all
Yeah.
that stuff, right?
Dude,
you get
hash,
these shitty products.
hash is like the worst.
And
Yep.
it's like you also consider the fact that, weed. I don't think you can get weed that is so bad that can kill you.
Right.
But then if we're talking about other recreational substance that is
Yeah.
spiced,
Yeah.
or
Especially harder drugs, like coke or Molly, which they can actually cut as in add like stuff that's not good for you, really
Yeah.
not good for you, just so it's cheaper, makes the product easier to push.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've heard people adding chalk into your cocaine and all that stuff.
it's not that's not the worst thing. What is that thing that killed Mac Miller?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like I forgot what it is, but anyway, yeah, that you can
Pull
cut,
that up.
Yeah, pull that up, Jamie. So yeah, having the government body regulating the
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
of the drugs, the quality, quality of alcohol, quality of cigarettes, they have to pass certain level to actually allow consumption. It's a fantastic idea.
Now, here's the big problem, right?
Right.
With legalizing
Yeah,
marijuana.
fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl is cut like a lot of drugs, like cocaine or a lot of stuff, are cut with fentanyl, and
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's an
And-
opioid, no?
yes, and very little amount of that can already send you to
Yeah.
send you to Mac Miller.
Backtracking what I said, one of the main problems with legalizing marijuana, people are saying, is that in order to get a license to grow or to handle dispensing or
Yeah.
distributing marijuana, it's very expensive to get it.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, it's going to be the big companies. Think about the big companies who are going to encroach in this space. All of a sudden, Amazon starts selling pot on their website.
interesting.
All these local producers, all these local suppliers will be out of the business.
But the argument could be that as the the market or the sector, weed sector is still new. It's still a very, very risky business for
Yeah.
someone to start, small company to start. The Amazon wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. There's too much to lose. There's not much to gain at the moment.
Well, they don't have to. They don't have to pour in tens of billions of dollars at once.
That's
they could
true.
Start,
That's
with
true.
a couple $1,000,000.
in that sense,
they do
right.
have the scale. They do have economies of scale.
They also have the
resources.
distribution
They have
network,
distribution
right.
Got their
center. They
own
have the
whole
human
chain.
capital.
Yeah. In that sense, you're
And-
right.
And they
Yeah,
have
you're
very
right.
fundamental advantage. And majority of these weed producers or farmers / producers, these are minorities in the U.S.
Right.
Ethnic minorities.
I did not know that.
And those,
Interesting.
and also typically from poor neighborhoods as well. And the argument against legalizing marijuana is that if you do that, the licensing fee would be very expensive, first of all. And second of all, these big companies are going to get into the space, putting small business out of, putting SMEs out of business. That typical liberal argument, right?
Right, yeah.
All your moms and pops are going to be gone.
Yeah.
You know, Amazon going to take our job.
Amazon's going to take over everything.
Have you guys ever, like, obviously you've used Amazon. You know, when you search up a product on Amazon, it's like, let's say you want to buy a ruler or like a camera.
It'll show you Amazon's choice.
Yeah, and it's always Amazon choice first, the few
Yeah.
rows. And it's like, I want some, I don't know, not lemongrass, like lemon haze or something.
Lemon
That
haze.
specific strain in Amsterdam is famous. It's like, I want some weed. And it's like, Amazon's choice of weed first. And then it's all these like small business owners.
Yeah,
That's exactly what's going to
Speaking
happen,
of different
man.
strains, you know, a lot of new strains emerged in the past 5 years or so. Like,
Really?
originally, there were only like 3 to 4
Right.
strains. Now there's hundreds of strains because the farming technology is improved a lot, and people are mixing different strains
Market
together.
competition.
Yeah, market competition.
Yeah.
Man.